Off. All right, call to order the Monday, December 9th meeting of Municipal Council. Our second item on our agenda is our Indigenous Land Acknowledgement Statement. As we gather, we are reminded that the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal is situated on traditional territory of Indigenous peoples dating back countless generations, which is rich in history and home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people today. As a township, we have a responsibility for the stewardship of the lands on which we live, work, and play. And today, this meeting place is still home to Indigenous people, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on and call this land home. Deputy Mayor, I believe you have the approval of the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Council Ward. The Municipality Council approves the agenda as presented.
Good. Discussion or changes, anyone for agenda? Okay, hearing none, call the question. All in favor? Okay, disclosure of pecuniary interest, conflict of interest, and the general nature thereof. Anyone have any declarations? Okay, then we move on to delegations and presentation, which we don't have any, and consent agenda is next. Councillor Ward, do you want to bring that forward?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Joe Martel that Municipal Council receives and approves the following consent agenda items as presented. A. Tri-Council, May 25th, 2023. Regular Council, November 25th, 2024. Public Library, October 22nd, 2024. Committee of the Whole Administration and Operations, December 2nd, 2024. Pumper 1 Replacement Options. Port of Johnstown 2024 Financial Audit Surface Plan.
Thanks, Councillor Ward. So items listed under consent agenda are considered routine and no longer require a further discussion. They're enacted in one motion. The exception to this rule is if any member requests that one or more items be pulled for discussion and voted on separately. So does anyone want to pull any of those 6 items out? Hearing none, then I'll call the question on consent agenda. All in favor? Good. So I believe we are on 10C. Is that right? Okay. 10C is the 2025 reduced summer meeting schedule. Councillor Ward, you have that item.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Joe Martel that Municipal Council recommend in favor of reducing the meeting schedule during the summer months to only regular council meetings scheduled for July 28 and August 25th as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Administration and Operations.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Discussion on the reduced schedule.
I have one question. I just want to follow up, Mr. Mayor, if I may, to the incoming port manager.
Absolutely.
Thank you. We're okay with that, income manager?
Yes, we are. Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Good. And is there discussion, anyone? No, hearing nothing further. We do recognize that this does reduce the, or will reduce the meeting schedule by several meetings. However, if there are issues that are of, that need to be dealt with quickly, we certainly can still schedule a meeting and bring one forward. So, okay, no further discussion then. I'll call the question. All in favor? Good. I believe we are on pre-budget approval for the website update. Councillor Smale.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Joe Martel that the Municipal Council provide pre-budget approval to an upset limit of 40,000 plus non-rebate HST and authorize the clerk to execute an agreement with the GHD Digital to complete the migration implementation from Create to GovaStack and supporting software for the township website in 2025 as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Administration and Operations.
Thank you. All right. Getting the website update done for pre-budget approval. Discussion, anyone? Hearing none, then I'll call the question. All in favor? good. Um, Awarding the RFP for the community improvement plan, Councillor Ward.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Joe Martell that municipal council approves the award of the community improvement plan project to NPG Planning Solutions in the amount of $27,980 plus non-rebatable HST.
Thank you. All right, so a much needed update to our CIP. Been asking to do this for a while. Further discussion, anyone?
Yeah, I have a few questions on this one,
Okay,
Mr. Mayor.
fire away.
The one is, we're recommending NPG. They weren't the lowest tender, right? And, they didn't have the highest marks. So I had a little issue with that. And I had an issue with, section 3. Who's going to speak on this, by the way, Mr. Mayor?
Through the chair, it'll be an economic development consultant and communications consultant that will speak to this.
Okay, I have section 3, page 40, 172. At least 2 references that outline previous community strategy planning and that has been successfully completed in the firm's 5 years, shall include the client's name, contacts, and so on. The township reserves the right to contact these references and where appropriate. Did we ever contact them, Mary?
Through the chair, Wendy did contact them and did not have any luck getting in contact with them directly. However, we did review samples of their work from other municipalities, and we found it to be outstanding.
So we didn't get in contact with 2.
That's right.
Okay. We went through this, if you remember, Mr. Mayor, you and I think were on the board the last time.
Mhm.
And that's why I don't want to go down that same path if we can. That's my real concern on that. Is that we didn't get in contact with them. And the RFP, it says we can negotiate. Have we tried to negotiate?
We have not.
Okay. And do they have the minimum general liability of 5 million? Do we know?
I believe they do.
Errors and omissions?
They do. Yep. They provided that in their report.
Out there is emission? That's my main concern, Mr. Mayor, is on that, the RFP, we can, maybe negotiate, but that section 3 really bothers me after that last episode that we're involved in. I have no other comments at this time on that.
So there's a motion here. Are you looking to amend the motion, Deputy Mayor? Are you looking to defer it till you get more information? It's on the floor, so we have to do something with it.
Well, I hate to hold it up, but I hate to get burned again too. It's a tough one. If someone can help me out, if not, yeah, I would defer it until we get at least information on 2 places that this company's done and was very successful and held their responsibilities of what they're supposed to do on their projects.
So look to the CAO, I think, this time for some input on that.
Yeah, we can certainly defer until we contact references.
Does that make you feel better?
I know I hate to be.
Is there further direction that you want to move other than just contacting the references?
No, see if we can maybe negotiate. It says there we can negotiate, so maybe it wouldn't hurt to have a sit down with them and see if we can't save some money on that. That's all.
Would that be proper to negotiate before accepting a tender?
It's not a tender. It's an RFP.
Or excuse me, before we accept an RFP?
Well, it's in there. It's in the proposal. Shall have a place. It's right there. It says that we have the right to negotiate.
Then yes, we can negotiate if it's in the tender.
Okay, so those are the 2 things that you're asking for then?
Yeah.
Or giving direction. So you want to move a motion to defer, I'm assuming?
Yes, if I get the seconder.
So you're looking around.
Yeah.
Yes. Want to try it again? Um, yeah, I'm going to trust you with procedural. We certainly don't do it that way at county, but the deferral comes up in the middle. We move the deferral and then the mover and seconder is removed automatically with the deferral. But
So are
But,
we dealing with
that's
the motion that's
whatever.
here in front of us?
so what do you want us to do with the motion? Well, there might be further discussion. So let's hang on and see what the further discussion says first. It's only one so far. Anyone else?
So, and I guess it's mostly to the deputy. So what do we want to go back and get more time so we can get more feedback on the NPG solutions that you're looking for, or what am I misunderstanding there, I guess?
I think
Yeah.
I think the two things, Chris, is he's looking for, at least the way that I hear it, is that he's looking for the references to be checked and confirmed. Not just the work that they've done, but the actual references they've used be contacted and confirmed. And the second thing that I heard was that the price be negotiated because it's higher than the lowest bid was.
Okay.
Well, no, it's just, it's in there, we do have an option.
Okay, no, that's fine. So if Councillor Martel is okay with taking out his seconded by, I'm okay with removing my motion then, if that's the case.
Okay. So I no longer have a mover and I no longer have a seconder. So then that's dead, right? All right. So now you can move a motion to defer. And when would you like it to come back? In the new year? Is that
But
the
yeah,
idea?
as soon as possible. I don't want to hold this up. So, well, we have no choice. I guess this is our last meeting. So if we can get it done and answer back and we take care of it the first of the year.
All right. So find yourself a seconder. Microphone, I suppose.
I'll second it.
Further discussion then on the deferral. Okay, hearing none, then all in favor. Good. And so we'll see that one back, I'm assuming, in first thing in January.
Correct.
Thank you.
All right, so Councillor Ward, draft plan extension request for Lockmaster Meadow.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Joe Martel that Municipal Council recommend in favor of a 1-year extension of the conditions of the draft approval for the Lockmasters Meadow subdivision, file 07T10005.
All right, year extension for Lockmaster Meadow. Discussion, if any? Nothing to add, Steve? You're good?
No, I'm good on that. Give me one more year for sure.
Okay, then if there's no further discussion, I will call the question on the year extension. All in favor? Good. All right, item G, Deputy Mayor, I believe you have the year-end review report.
Moved by myself. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and second by Mr. Ward. The Municipality Council receives 2024 year and review report as presented.
All right, who's going to speak to the year-end review?
Through the chair, I can speak to it. Just a high level overview that we complete each year, just to kind of give council and the public a idea of what's going on within the year. It's definitely not all encompassing. If we did that, it'd probably be closer to the 20-page mark instead of the 5.5. We just focus in on a couple of things that have been touched upon for intergovernmental relations, for business surveys, long-term care facilities, projects we're working on with surrounding municipalities, feedback that we provided that has touched upon a couple different bills or different government agencies, highlighting human resources for the new or outgoing personnel for either hire or retire. as well as our recent recognition awards for our years of service for both township employees and volunteer firefighters. We had a busy year for the business and community development with quite a few different site plans and zoning bylaws. Supported the Digital Main Street Service Squad again. And one of the accomplishments from council was the purchase of the E19 site, Byers Road, as well as gathering with Dual Power the 3 sites for the EV Charge On program. As usual, every year we partner with SNC for the free tree day. That is an ongoing success year after year. We sell out all the time. Working with the various organizations for the trade show, community grants and donations, we increased last year up to $50,000. Administration, continual work with the Cormorant Control Program. This year we implemented the Workplace Wellness Committee internally to accomplish or try to accomplish our vision to have an open, transparent, and more solid culture, to focus on wellness initiatives and support employees. Also just highlighting a couple of the road closures or other various in-kind donations that the township provides through staff or other mechanisms for all the different community groups. Our new pickleball has been a very great success within Johnstown. We completed one of our first ever strategic plans for the township, so that was a big accomplishment as well. And then just highlighting different areas for what will now be next week's 3 new categories for our annual awards for the community/volunteer group of the year, small business of the year, and large business of the year, as well as our continued on citizen of the year and youth of the year. Recognize a number of different proclamations throughout the year, as well as our recreation program went above and beyond on a number of different activities held that are not just typical year after year. And then just highlight some of our newer updated policies and bylaws that we've done, as well as making sure we meet all the marks for emergency management criteria. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk. That's there's a heck of a lot more there than that, isn't there? It's amazing how much gets done. And that isn't actually included there too. Discussion. Anyone? Chris, you want to?
Just one quick thing that it wasn't on the list, and I just think it probably bears mentioning because I think it's pretty huge for the township that unless I just am missing it, by the way, because it is a long list, but all the work that staff did to help us to become the potential site for the Canada's largest energy storage facility, I think is a good thing to put on here as well, or at least make note of it. So thank you very much. That's it.
Steven, anything? No, you just show yourself.
Yeah, just a job well done by our staff. You people deserve a lot of credit on this. Our recreation. I'm sorry Mike's not here because everything's well done, and the township people, taxpayers, recognizes that. So, kudos to all you people who helped out on that. I appreciate the hard work you do. Thank you.
Lonnie, anything?
Yeah, I just want to say same thing that Steve just said. Fantastic job.
Yeah, certainly echo. There's a lot of groups that do a lot of work in the township. You know, SBCC, the Festival Committee in Cardinal, Sierra, the Ag Society, the Bluegrass Festival, and our staff's there to support them every step of the way when it comes to, big thing for this group was, working hard and helping out those festivals in any way we can. And we certainly got a lot of staff support to help out with those events, not to mention, keeping roads passable, like nights like tonight. The public works folks, our environmental services do such a good job with keeping our water safe and clean. We've had, DQMS reports that are perfect scores every single time. So fantastic work to each and every department. I know planning was difficult at times this year with the Lear review. We were discussing Lear before the meeting, and there's difficult parts. We got lots changed as well, I believe, in this year as well. The potential to have a smaller lot size in a rural area, right? I mean, that was a big thing for this group. There's just so many things that staff have done to help move the mandate of this council forward. So it's a wonderful team approach, and it's what we said when we were coming into this, that we would try to work together to get as much as we could done, and we can't do it without the great support that we have from the bench that's over there. So thank you to each and every one of you for the help that you do. Yeah. All right. Having said that, then I should call the question. All in favor? Good. Wait till next year's. All right. So we're on H. Prescott Family Health Team support request. Councillor Smale.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Joe Martell, that the municipal council approves that staff work with Augusta and Prescott to develop an agreement that addresses the financial request made by the Prescott Family Medical Associations.
Right. What page is this report on? Do you have it?
Page 72.
72?
72, 17.
Oh, there it is. I'm right on it. Yep. Yep, I do. Yep. All right. Okay. So discussion. Sorry. I'll call it for discussion, I guess, first. It's moved and seconded, right? It's on the floor. Yep. Discussion, if any. All right. So we all sat through the tri-municipal council meeting where Denny Matthews, Dr. Tim Mack, and Dr. Cook, told us the state of where the Prescott Family Health Team was. We all recognize how valuable and important having the doctors that are in Prescott is to our community. And they've made it very clear that the 3 that they have, they can't afford to go to 2. If they go to 2, they lose the physician assistant and a lot of the extra funding that comes into the clinic. They need help from both Prescott and Augusta and Edwardsburg Cardinal to make sure that they can meet the office expense level to help out with the group. And ultimately that's, I think, what we see before us today is they're looking for support from the township to help keep those 3 doctors and the work that they do viable in our community. We know that we've been successful with the READY program, and that over the next year, starting in January 1st, 2025 to the January 26th, January 1st, 2026, that people will be able to, the family health team will be able to sponsor immigrant doctors, hopefully from South Africa, Ireland, be where it may be, to come to Canada. And if that happens, part of this contract is that they would no longer need this funding because it would get them to the 4-doctor amount, that it would lower the office expense to the threshold that was needed, and they would have the 4 or 5 or potentially even 6. I think they have room for up to 6 doctors. So good news on the READY program. Just need to make sure that the group in Prescott wants to sponsor and wants to they keep trying to advertise and bring new healthcare professionals into the team, and we need to continue to make sure that we work with them through that READY program application process so that they can draw on as many healthcare professionals as they can manage there. So it's kind of a twofold situation. But this is a small amount of funding to keep them going until we get that next part done. So, and I think if I'm not mistaken, it's 3. Is it 2 years? 3 years? 2 years?
3 years.
It's 3 years, right? Yeah. So it goes into the next term. The next term of council can decide not to move it forward when it comes forward, if that's so be. We don't like to tie the hands of councils in the future, but I think in this account, It's such an important and valuable thing to the members of our community that I think they'd support moving this forward. So, all right, there was no discussion before. I know we all sat through the discussion at the Tri-Municipal Council. Is there anything, any last? No? All right, then I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Good. And that makes the agreement will work with Prescott and Augusta. Everybody will bring the exact same agreement forward for signing, right?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Thank you, CAO. All right, so the parental leave policy, Councillor Martel, do you want to bring that forward, put it on the floor?
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Waddy Smale, that municipal council include option number 1 of the pregnancy and parental leave policy in the township personnel policy.
Alrighty, opening the floor to speakers on the pregnancy and parental leave policy. Anyone? I need speakers, if there are any. Do you want to go, Waddy?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just have a couple questions, maybe some definition. Pregnancy leave length is 17 weeks. That means while you're pregnant. Is that correct? I've never been pregnant, so I want to know. And if so, you also get the parental leave length? So you're getting like almost 2 years off, 20 months off exactly? Is that how that reads? Who am I? Okay, sorry.
Through the chair. So maternity leave. So the definition is pregnancy, childbirth, post-childbirth, recuperation, adoption, and childcare. So for the first 17 weeks, only the person pregnant who is going through postpartum recuperation is eligible through Employment Standards Act to have 17 weeks of that leave. And parental leave is up to, so if you have maternity leave, you are eligible for 61 weeks. After your 17 weeks, you're eligible for 61 weeks. In total, 78 weeks, which is 18 months. So you can take up to any amount of after 17 weeks up until 18 months. So for parental leave is eligible for anyone who is caring for a newly born child or an adopted child. So they are not eligible, obviously, for the pregnancy leave. They are eligible for the parental leave, which they are eligible up to 63 weeks, which is 14 and a half months total.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the all of which is through ESA, right? Those are ESA
Those are ESA.
ESA minimums, right?
Maximums.
Or maximums. Sorry.
That's correct.
I have still one more question.
Yes.
Sorry, Your Worship.
No, go ahead.
For option 1, there's 2 different things in there. So are we going to be voting on option 1 we get to pick, or who gets to pick like one says you get for premiums paid by the employer and next one says waiver premiums paid by employer?
Through the chair, I can explain. So option 1 has 2 parts.
Yeah.
So if we were to go with option 1, employees will have the option to either choose to remain on the benefit plan. If they choose to remain on the benefit plan and have the employer pay the premiums, their supplemental pay will be 15% of their base pay. If they choose to waive their benefits and be taken off the benefit plan, or choose to pay the benefits themselves, then their supplemental pay will be 33% of their base salary.
Okay, so they decide, not us.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That's all I need to know.
Okay. Further, Chris?
So if you're looking at this entirety, the pregnancy leave plus parental leave, we're looking at about 80 weeks of pay. What is EI? I guess it's EI that covers that, right? During the maternity leave. How do they handle that? Because I heard something like if you do the 80 months, I guess it is, that it's they still pay you as if it's 1 year over that time period. I think I heard so.
Correct, through the chair. So through employment insurance, you are eligible for those weeks. There is a maximum, so you receive 55% of your pay, up to a maximum, I believe, for 2025 is $65,700. So they would take 50, if, let's say you were over that amount, they would cap you at 65,700. They would give you 55% of that up to 12 months. If you choose to extend your leave up to 18 months, what they would do is they would just take the amount that they would give you in 12 months and divide it by the time that you're deciding to take. Let's say if it's 15 months, 16 months, 17 months, up to 18 months. So it's the same amount of pay that you're receiving. It's just spread out over a longer period of time, whether or not you're choosing to take 12 to 18 months.
Fair enough. So option 2, for instance, if we had that in there, we'd be paying a much bigger, it wouldn't just be the 55% because they would spread it up over time and it would be a bigger payment on that. Okay, I see that now. The other question that I think is, no, don't worry about that one. No, don't worry about that one. I think Councillor Smale kind of got it clarified for me as well. Thank you. That's it.
Anyone else? No. No. Do we, so this came out from the equity study, right? And do we currently have a top up? Do we have anything beyond ESA?
Through the chair, no, we don't.
Okay, so, and this is for non-unionized or,
It would apply to both union and non-union.
okay. Is there a potential dollar value attached to it anywhere?
Hard to, through the chair, hard to kind of come at a total dollar amount because it's dependent on the position that they're in, because it's a percentage of income. But I'll turn it to the treasurer to talk about the mechanics of it, which might help with some of these questions.
Through the chair. So the reason why we wrote in the report that option 1 is the most cost neutral, given that it is a percentage, just a base percentage of the employee's pay. So we are not bridging the gap. So the second option, we are guaranteeing that employee receive 80% of the current salary. If they're only receiving 55%, let's say of 65, 70, that gap might be larger depending on where that employee sits within the pay grid. So for option 1, where it becomes cost neutral is we're assuming that the employee is going to be well within the pay grid, not at level 1, where let's just assume that they're currently at step 3. When we are recruiting for the replacement for that leave, most likely we're going to bring that replacement in at the bottom of that pay grid. So the difference between those steps will recuperate the cost of the top up. And that's where the cost neutral, where that comes from.
Right. So if the number was 100,000, and yeah, the difference would be that the person coming in for the mat leave would be paid less than the person going out. And the difference between the two would go towards the person who is in mat leave, and ultimately it's just a wash.
It won't be a complete wash. I want to be very transparent. It won't be it'll be more cost neutral than option 2.
Right. Yeah. Closer.
Closer. Yes.
Yeah. Chris.
Sorry, I remember I was thinking about something last night, and it was about option 1 and the 15 versus the 33%. And I worry a little bit about that option, the 33% option, because, if some people might decide to take that and forgo their benefits, even if they don't have a spouse with those benefits. And so I was a little bit, I wasn't sure if it was a real worry or not, but that if they did that just for the sake of getting that extra money, I'd be worried that they would maybe not have the services that they maybe need, right? So that was kind of my concern about option 1, but then option 2 was a bigger concern, because like the mayor, knowing the cost is, or at least being able to appreciate the cost would be something that is in his, something I always look for. So like I said, I don't know if there's anything we can do just to say, in my opinion, I just like that first line option for option number 1, not the whole thing, but that's just my 2 cents.
I guess my only other question would be, I didn't see anything in here and maybe there was in the original report that compared us to our neighbors. But are we the only one who doesn't have one of these?
Through the chair, I don't believe we're not the only one, but it is becoming a policy that is being adopted more regularly through municipalities, through government, through other companies as well.
Okay, thank you.
I
Alright.
can also provide the comparators as well if that's of interest.
Let's see how this goes. I'm not sure yet. Nobody seems to want to talk to it. There is a recommendation, right? So staff is recommending that council directs the staff to prepare a pregnancy and parental leave policy that includes number 1. So ultimately, that's what we're doing so we're not actually approving it yet. We're directing staff to prepare it, and then we will approve it once it's prepared.
Through the chair, that is correct. All we're asking for is option 1 or option 2 to design a policy. That policy will come forward in the new year, and then we'll have all the comparators with it at that point
All right.
for discussion.
Yeah, that makes that, yes.
So good point, actually. I was thinking we had to vote on something tonight. I wouldn't mind, like I said, splitting option 1 into 2 options on their own as well for that conversation, just because, and I'll do some more research as well too, the world does, but I just, I know people can be stubborn, not stubborn is not the right word, but just, sometimes we don't realize the benefit of having a health benefit package, and I hate to see somebody forego that for the sake of cash in this case here. So that'd be my concern.
Anyone else have a, I think you sort of helped me with mine, which was how do we end up with the least impact financially to the organization while still trying to support the staff as best we can. It's a difficult discussion, but I think provided that, and I mean, it does cost more for staff these days. We definitely understand and recognize that finding similar, the same staff, we are, it's harder, and we certainly are maybe paying a bit more. So I get the concept is that it comes neutral, but as we've seen, that's necessarily not always the case. The only really thing that I guess we're asking for is the difference between 15 and 33, right? Is that what you're asking to be laid out maybe differently when they come back? I have no problem with that either. Do you guys have any input on to go any further? No, Steve, anything at all? I mean, we're going to give them direction. They're going to come back with a report, and
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, we're going to take option 1. Is that right?
that's the recommendation that's been
recommendation?
moved.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. We haven't called the vote on it yet, but I'm just trying to get as much information to them so that when they come back with the options, or when they come back with option 1, that it reflects our concerns. The report that comes back reflects our concerns. Yeah.
If you're looking for more words, Mr. Mayor, I can certainly have some more. I mean, I did like some of the other things in the policy where we talk about employees who, if they decide to not return after the pregnancy leave, you have us covered really well in there, I thought. The OMERS pension plan, not participating in during that year. If we're coming back with something down the road, the cost, a rough estimate of the cost, that wouldn't be a bad thing, just because I'm not sure how significant that is to make it as a point that we hold on to that one. Then what was the other one here? Apply for 13 weeks of service. Oh, yeah, it's 13 weeks. So you only have to be in the township for 13 weeks is what I read there before you would qualify for the plan. I sort of thought in my mind that seemed low, but maybe that's, I'm not sure if there's a thought around that, but I sort of thought that's not very long to be here before you get, a top up for a whole year. But people's conditions are what they are, I suppose. But I just thought this is a talking point that could be talked about if there's any interest in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a short term of employment before you qualify for, yeah, I hear you. To be topped up. I mean, you're entitled to ESA no matter what, but to have the top up portion of it is certainly worth maybe some options there on length. For sure. Yeah, it's good. It's worth a point. Yeah. Still nothing? Nothing. All right, then I'm going to call the question. We're not going any further with this. So the question or the motion that's on the floor is the municipal council include option 1 of the pregnancy and parental leave policy in the township personnel policy. Yep, great. That's the one that was moved. Yeah. All right. So then if there's no further discussion, then I'll call the question. We'll see a report. All in favor? Good. J, pre-budget approval for the 2025 UV system replacement project. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and second by Council Ward that municipality council include the estimated $500,000 project in the 2025 budget for the Cardinal Water System and authorize staff to issue a tender document requesting submissions from qualified bidders and return to council with tender as recommended by the Committee of the Whole and Administration and Operations.
Right, this one I asked to be pulled from consent agenda. I just felt with the dollar value being as high as it is and the implications to the budget or for the water budget and the water system that we should at least pass it on council in open. So and give anybody the opportunity to speak to it that would like. So anyone?
Just briefly, I mean, I like the fact that you pulled this one because it's a significant dollar value. I mean, we are talking about replacing an integral system within the system, and I think it's. But it'd be nice to see that we can get this back, and maybe it comes in under the 500K. But we do need to make sure we have the solid system, as we talked about before. We always get 100%, and it's reasons like this that we do. So I think we should go forth, but acknowledging the fact that it's $500,000 we're talking about spending. So
Yep, for sure. Anyone else? Marty?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm not sure who to direct this to, but I sit down, I'll be paying this. It's 5.8% for water and 3.8 for sewer percent increase.
We're not there
Chair,
yet.
we're not-
though.
we're not
We're
there
not there.
yet.
We're still
All
on
right,
J.
then I cancel till then.
Yeah. Okay. This is for the 500,000 for the UV. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, certainly a large dollar value, but I would also say that every time that Eric brings reports to us on 100% for our systems is because of the care and the maintenance that the environmental services team takes to make sure that we have crystal clear, safe drinking water. And this is I guess this isn't for, it is for that, but it just makes sure that system remains safe and good for everyone using it, right? So I see no issue with this at all. But I felt because of the dollar value, it should be pulled. So discussion at all? No further? Okay, all in favor? Of course, Rainer. Spencerville Pumping Station 1 upgrades, Councilor Ward.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Joe Martel that municipal council include the estimated $250,000 project into the 2025 budget for the Spencerville wastewater system and authorize staff to issue tender documents requesting submissions from qualified bidders and return to council with tender results and final recommendation as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Administration and Operations.
Good. Thank you. Another large dollar one. And I think for both of these we were using, I'm going to look to the CAO, but we're using OS. The suggestion is that we use a chunk of OSIF for funding for both of these. Am I wrong on that?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Okay. And that when we actually do budget, we'll have the ability as a group to decide how much funding we use of OSIF, like those funding sources, right?
Through the chair, yes. What you'll see in the next item is we made the changes as indicated, so there'll still be OSIF to use in the levy budget.
Correct. Yeah, because we are approving the water system budget, which is totally separate than our regular budget.
That is correct.
Yeah, good. All right. Thank you. And so the recommended changes from, I guess that's the next discussion. All right. So further discussion on the 250 for this one, much needed upgrades to flight pumps to get rid of the old run reliable Myers pumps, right? Okay. Discussion further, beat up at committee. No. All right. All in favor? Good. Okay. Now the one everybody will talk about. The revised 2025 water system budgets. Deputy Mayor? No, it's Councillor Smale. That one's yours, Councillor Smale, to bring forward.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, I'm going to start off with.
No, no, you got to bring it forward first.
What?
The motion.
You have the motion.
Oh, sorry. A little louder tonight.
You're having a me night.
Moved by myself and seconded by Joe Martell. The Municipal Council receives the correspondent listings for the following dates previously calculated: November 27th, 2024 and December 4th, 2024.
Sorry, it was
I think that's the wrong motion.
the motion before that.
Ah. I got it.
You're looking for the revised 2025 water system budgets. That's the 5.8 and the 3 point, whatever.
I got two left. It's got to be one of them.
There's no rush.
I'm looking for the budget, 25.
The water systems budget, yep.
Yeah,
That's it. Okay, I got it. Sorry
Yes,
about that,
read it
everyone.
again.
Moved by myself and seconded by Joe Martell that Municipal Council approve the 2025 budget as presented for all water and wastewater systems.
There we go. And it was moved by you and seconded by Joe, not by Waddy and by Waddy Smale. All right, discussion on the water and wastewater system budgets. Councillor Smale, you did have something you wanted to discuss.
Thank you. Now all the laughing's done. Anyway,
Yeah,
I
probably not.
was sitting down today and I figured out it's 5.8% water increase and 3.8% sewer, which is a total of 9.6%. The average person in Cardinal pays $99 to $100 a month for water and sewer. So that's going to increase it to $109 a month. They're already paying a $9 a month levy for the Highway 2. So that's going to be $18 a month, which works out to, I had it wrote down, but I can't find it, but times that by 12 is quite a bit of money. Is there any possible way that this can be lowered? Because you're going to get a lot of upset customers that are paying water and sewer. That's just all I've got to say.
Yeah, I think the budget is here, and I mean, if you're looking to reduce the 5.8 and whatever the 3% was, you're more than welcome to move a motion to reduce them and pick numbers that you want. The committee discussion when we had it, those are the numbers that were brought forward. I don't believe there was a raise in fees since 2021.
Through the chair, that is correct. We did a slight increase to the levy last year, but for the rates, nothing since 2021.
Yeah, so the rates haven't moved in a couple of years, and ultimately, when you don't move them for a couple of years, then you end up with a little bit, bigger one at one point. I certainly see that with overall budgets, right? When we've done 0, 0, 0 for a while, and then all of a sudden, to catch up to inflation and cost of living, you end up with 6 or 7 or 8% sort of adjustments on that. I know that this goes towards paying that UV system, replacement and all of the things that are needed for the maintenance there. It's a very expensive system that only a small number of people are. It's only the people that use it that have to pay for it, right? And that's why every house that gets attached to it, why every subdivision that we have, it helps lower those bills for everyone. But the reality of the system is that only the users are the only ones that have to pay for it, right? So the costs are what they are. They're there to prevent and to fund the system to keep it going the way that it is. But I hear you as far as a 9 or a 10% increase. It's a lot. If you're looking to reduce that you know, you can always move something forward, and if you can get a second, or we can adjust it, or we can give direction to have it adjusted.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm understanding where you're coming from, and I agree that things have to go up. The only question that bothers me right now is like, when we apply for a grant, the total cost of this water thing is going to be $490,000, and we're getting a $100,000 grant. Like, who decides how much money we get? When I notice the Spencerville Sewer isn't as big a project, and they're getting a bigger grant for their sewer lines. Like, can you explain what happens and where the grants come from?
Through the chair, the grant is just the OSIF grant that we get every year. So we allocate that to certain projects based on need and based on reserve value. So we did less out of the Cardinal Reserve because there's money in the reserve. So that came up at the last committee meeting, was that since the reserves are there, we'll spend the reserves to fund this item.
Okay, thank you. I'm good.
So they're using a chunk of the reserve. I mean, they're
Yeah.
using a chunk of the reserve not to fund the budget, but to fund the replacement of the UP, right? Which ultimately then doesn't get loaded down onto the ratepayer to the same degree as what it is, right?
Exactly, I agree.
Yeah, it is taking that pressure off, and we did reduce the amount in Spencerville as well, because there's a healthy reserve there as well. But with the potential of a second pump out and the costs that are going along with it, they're going to need, you know, that reserve to be able to move that forward. And I think that's why there was a little less used in Spencerville, if that makes any sense. Okay. Point taken though on the budget, but it's why, you know, every single year when something comes forward for that 1 or 2% small increase, is that's why it's important to do the 1 or 2, so that we don't end up doing, you know, this kind of an impact all at once, right? So, but it has been since 2021. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And with regards to that, it's, you don't, just the way the math works, you don't add those two numbers together anyways. It's actually more like and I shouldn't say it like that, but it's
Blended.
you know, assuming water and sewer are 50-50, it's about a 4.8% increase, not an 8 or 9% increase. Just, it's only on part of the
blended,
bill that you
right?
do it, right?
That's
So
like-
it's, you know, so if it's $99, it's probably another $5 a month, not $9 a month, but it's negligible. But to the mayor's point, and I guess that's what I was going to ask is, and maybe I don't know the history of why there was no rate increase since 2021. But I was going to hope just to put as a statement in here as well that I hope we do review them annually going forward, because you have these conversations we're having with one of our council members as well. It's going to come up with residents as well as to why it's such a big increase. And I think it's, you know, if it would have been less than the inflation rate over the last 4 years, if it had just been done every year, to be honest, at this rate. So
Yeah.
I think that's important to note.
Maybe staff can speak to that, actually.
Through the chair, with I guess I can speak to this because I was treasurer at the time, so I would know why that happened. We didn't move the rates for those years because we were already showing a surplus in those budgets. So it was more the concern is if you're not charging enough to cover your costs. So we were for those years, and this came more out of the asset management planning exercise than it did out of a rate recovery exercise. So this kind of sets us up for the future with our asset management plan. So that was where those numbers were derived from.
That's an even better answer. Thank you very much, Mr. CAO.
Yeah,
Former treasurer.
If I remember right, though, going back to that asset management plan, we'll see increases like this for a while, though, won't we?
Through the chair, that, you know, it really is dependent on you know, if the raise in fees to Councillor Smale's question seems to be too large, then we would pause that. We would only raise rates unless we need to raise rates to cover those expenses. So we do try to manage our budgets for the rate-based systems so that they're paying for what they're using and not much more.
In that, and just to be clear on that, there is an amount that goes into reserves, not just the surplus, right?
Correct.
Budgeted.
Correct. So the capital levy that is charged to all the users, that goes directly into reserves. That's not in our operating budget.
Okay, and it's the only contribution to reserves is the $9 a month per user.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, further. Good. All right, then let's get the water budget done for this year then. So I have it in front of me, right? Yeah, municipal council approved the 2025 budget. Yeah, okay. So I'll call the question then. I'll read it again once more. That municipal council approves the 2025 budget as presented for all water and wastewater systems. All in favor? Good. Good discussion. All right, so we are on to item M, Deputy Mayor, GIC renewal for the Port of Johnstown. Mike.
Microphone, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and second by Councilor Martel. That municipal council approves the following investment recommendations. One, RBC and GIC maturing on December 30th, 2024. An estimate amount of $822,061.56 to be transferred into the Port of Johnstown RBC operating account. And that two, the incoming port general manager and the treasurer of the township review the port investments after the capital budget has been approved for 2025 to make further recommendations.
All right, so the capital budget, township review the port investment. Is it safe to assume that that's the capital budget for the Port of Johnstown? Yep. And so then the 822.61 will go into the operating account, the everyday account, earning basically the same rate of interest that it is in the GIC anyway. It's not really losing anything right now because the little bit of drops that have happened. And then we approve the capital budget, and then as part of that budget, if there's a recommendation to put this back into some form of an investment, is that what you want to speak to it? Sorry, I'm not giving you the opportunity to
Sorry.
speak to it.
No, thank you, Mayor Deschamps. That is correct. Your analysis of the situation is correct. And I look forward to working with Jessica in the new year to bring forward other recommendations to the Port Management Committee.
Okay, and then the group will see that at its first, well, not its first, it'll see it after we've done the budget, and then we'll have a discussion on what the committee believes is with the
That's correct.
treasurer. Yeah, okay. All right, that makes lots of sense then. All right, questions at all, discussion? Oh, I knew you had to.
Well, you said you wanted to make this meeting last a little longer.
I did not say that.
I just think, we had this discussion, and I like the fact it got brought forward because, even though I love the idea that every 6 months we have something coming out of our investments that we can either renew or not. We are coming off of, I know we didn't hit the full $10 million we'd planned on for the capital budget, but I think we're spending at least $7 or $7.5 million this year, if memory serves. So, I think having that and be able to take a look at this before we go into next year, I'm glad we're doing this, to be honest. And I just think that's important because, when we talked about the main investment objectives, the main objectives of the port, it's almost like, make sure the liquidity is there first and then the investments. And so I just want to make sure that I'm glad we're doing that because I do think we need to have that conversation before we go and commit this for 6 months. That's all. So thank you.
Okay, further? Okay, hearing none, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Very simple. And, all right, so we are on Port of Johnstown, award the RFP Strategic Plan, Councillor Ward.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Joe Martel that Municipal Council approves the 2025 budget request to award strategic plan RFP for the Port of Johnstown to Town Hall Consulting Incorporated in the amount of $19,700 plus HST to be funded through consulting services in the 2025 Port of Johnstown budget.
Thank you. Another strat plan, long overdue. The first, not the first, but one of the substantial things that the incoming GM has been working on. Yeah. Do you want an opportunity to speak to it before we go?
Sure, I think just briefly, thank you through the chair. This is an exciting project for the port, for the township, for the community as a whole. So we look forward to getting on with this in January, provided that it is approved this evening. As you'll probably recognize, the name of the key proponent, Town Hall Consulting, was the consulting firm that completed the township strategic plan in 2024 or 2023, I guess. So we look forward to having some synergies between the two plans. And I think it's very cost effective to help populate our budget. And I think I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, well, that's good. So that's Rob Adams again then?
That's correct.
Yeah, Rob's fantastic. All right, further discussion. Yeah, go ahead.
So, sorry, Mr. Mayor. I guess my first question is, we had one that was way higher than everything else. Do we know, was that like a much broader encompassing package, or was it the same, just with a much higher quote?
I can speak to that, and we did summarize that through the review committee. I think the scope in itself was expanded a bit, and a lot of the travel time, they were based out of Calgary. So a lot of the travel time for the in-person that we required was included in that fee.
All right, thank you very much. And this one's, this next one is tricky, and it's probably similar to the conversation we had about the RFP earlier on for the development. The Town Hall Consulting versus IAMPE, and I get that the score is higher, but it's, it comes down to, port knowledge and managing a port and stuff. And so even though it's more than twice the dollars, is there some conversation we should have around whether there's still a better way to go for this particular one? Because just their specialty seems to lend to it, but I don't know if that's, what your thoughts are on that.
Sure, that is a great question. And through the chair, we did review that, and you'll notice in the report, I did include that perhaps there is some expanded scope or ability for them to assist us in the new year. So this was the same firm, Captain Jeffrey Monroe did the plan from 2013. And what I would, even though it was called a master and strategic plan, it was more of a report of findings and didn't have clear deliverables and strategic objectives. So what we felt as a review committee is that we were looking for that succinct plan, like a 5 to 10 page document that was an easy read by everyone. And they were more kind of in the weeds, almost like they would be a staff resource, a consultant perspective, if required in the future.
Okay, thank you very much. Good answers.
So the key for me and the difference, I think, between using them and using Town Hall is that we have the ability to have Logistech or any of those people at the table for our strat plan, right? Like, I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that it's not just going to be us in the strat plan or staff, Port of Johnstown staff in there. It's going to be, some of our green farmers, some of our the main
brokers,
stakeholders, right, of the port and of the shipping community to help us shape that. And to me, that's where I think the value of Town Hall is that as long as we utilize the resources that use the port, and we've all talked about rail. Obviously, the growth of rail is a big thing. Well, why not invite Clayton to be part of our strategic plan process, right? If we're gonna try to plan around that and build it, maybe the person who's going to do that should be included in the conversations, right? So to me, that's the value of the lower bid, is that as long as we do our part and make sure that the right stakeholders are there when we form the plan, we'll get exactly what we're looking for. Is that, yeah, good? That make you comfy?
Oh, yeah, and I mean, and to the mayor's point earlier, we have worked with Rob I'm thinking on a couple of
Adams.
occasions,
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
know, and so nothing but good feelings there for sure. And you know, I just you know, some things we just have to have the conversation about because I want to hear the details. And you know, I think the incoming port manager answered them very well as well, to be honest, as far as the thought process. So I'm happy with that. It was just, you know, do we have a second thought about that was the question more than anything else. So,
Yeah.
yep.
Well, I think seeing what we got out of it last time, and maybe we would get something more out of it this time because we weren't happy with what we got out of it. Well, we weren't here last time when it went through, but it's just a report that you could read last time. But seeing, you know, we know what we got out of our strategic plan here at the township, and having the same person facilitate the discussion. It's just the facilitator for the discussion. I mean, the discussion comes from the people adding the meat to it, right? So that's his job, is to make sure that he pulls together everything that we put out there. So to me, that's more stakeholder than it is consultant. We know what we're getting when we work with town hall. So guys, anything? No? All right, then it's on the floor. I'll call yeah, everything's done, right? So I'll call the question then. All in favor? Good. Looking forward to having Mr. Adams back. Is there a timeline for that one at all? Jim?
Yes, in the scope of the RFP, we required a 6-month turnaround time so that we have it completed by July 1.
By July 1, okay. Because if there was yeah, sometimes things aren't delivered quite as quickly as we'd like them. So it's nice to know that there's a
And I did
timeline.
include in the scope that I would do myself the graphic design for it, because that was part of our hang up in my past life for the timeline. But I think it's something that's important to us and important for everyone to move forward. So we need it done quickly.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. Yeah, it's almost too bad that it's not in place going into this budget instead of having in place for next, but oh well, it is what it is. Thank you for the work that you did on that. It's good. Feet are wet now completely, right? Ready to rock. All right. Item 11, correspondence. Councillor's mail.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Joe Martell that the Municipal Council receives in correspondence listings for the following dates as previously calculated: November 27th, 24, December 4th, 2024.
I say I thought you moved that one previously too. All right. Approval of correspondence. Any discussion on correspondence? Hearing none, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Correspondence received. Sorry, Waddy. All right, approval of the municipal disbursements, Councillor Martell.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Waddy Smail. The municipal council receives the payment of municipal invoices circulated and dated as follows. Report dated November 27th, 2024-196 for a sum of $187,421.29. Report dated November 29th, 2024-197 for a sum of $214,220.73. Report dated December 6th, 2024-203 for a sum of $2,280 for a total of $403,922.02.
Good, thank you. All right, approval of the bills that have most likely already been paid. Discussion on disbursements at all, anyone? Put your microphone on though, please.
I have one, Mr. Mayor, and I'm just, I don't understand it actually. It's the first page, 122 of 172. Rec well test for splash pad. We have two testings, $2,000, $2,400.46. Where's the rec splash pad water testing? Like,
Through the chair, that's for the to test the water well that's going to supply the potential splash pad in Spencerville.
But that's fine, but where is it? We haven't had any discussion, like where, Where is it? Like where's this well?
It's the existing well that's there. They needed to test it to make sure that it's compatible with the splash pad that was designed.
I don't think we know the location.
So where's the location, I guess? Is it the Lions Club?
Okay, so we can't discuss the location, I don't think, as of yet.
No, through the chair with Mike not being here. No, it's should be the Lions Club, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
But there is a well that's been drilled.
There is?
There is an existing.
It's an
well.
existing well that we're using to
Okay, to see
Potentially.
if it's okay. Or
Yes.
that we have the right, if that's where it's going. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Further questions on invoices? Hearing none, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Good. Port of Johnstown's disbursements, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Martel. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Martel that Municipality Council receives and approves payment of port invoices circulated and numbered as follow. Withdrawals total is $291,214.26. Batch 31 checks, 11,402.60 and batch 32 EFTs, 138,212.81. Total direct withdrawal and batch listing is $440,829.67.
Pass that one over there, Steve. It's okay. Well, you can keep it if you want to. It's all yours. Questions concerning the port invoices? Anyone? I just had one on the Bobcat tire. I think it's a tire. Is it a tire? New tires?
New tires, yes.
For snow or they wore out the old ones or?
They wore out and they're all season tires and the Bobcats used 12 months of the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's our old Bobcat. That's not our new Bobcat.
That's correct. It's the
Oh,
old.
there,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
It still has the Port of Prescott
Yeah.
stamp on it. Yes.
Oh, so it's the really old.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah,
old-
okay, all right. I was thinking that.
The new one?
Yeah, no, I was thinking the new one. I was like, wow, all right. It's like a snowplow. Um, further questions on the port invoices? Seeing none, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Good. And we are on to the bylaw portion of today's meeting. And so we're on 14A. And Councillor Martel, it's you that has it this time.
Thank you, your worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Waddy Smail, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to amend bylaw 2013-69 to impose water and wastewater rates for users of the Cardinal water and wastewater system, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
All right, discussion on first and second reading. Had lots of discussion over the last two meetings. Hearing and seeing none, then I'll call the question. All in favor? It's unanimous. You can proceed to third.
Thank you, your worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Waddy Smail, that a bylaw to amend bylaw 2013-69 to impose water and wastewater rates for users of the Cardinal water and wastewater system now be read a third and final time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2024-72.
All right, and it's third reading. Are there questions, comments on this at all? Just to clear up a little bit of a question before. So you don't, just to be clear, the water and wastewater portion, two separate parts of a bill. The 5.9% increase goes on the water portion. The 3 point whatever goes on the wastewater portion. And it ultimately is a blended rate over the total, not a cumulative rate over the total.
Through the chair, that is correct. So if we take the dollar amounts that were given in the report versus the budget item, it amounts to about a 4.5% increase.
Okay. Does that make you more comfortable, Counselor Smale, just so that there's,
Yes,
I just
thank you,
don't want it
CEO.
getting out that there's a 10% increase when there's a 4% increase, that's all. Okay, you're comfortable? All right, so hearing and understanding that certainly goes a long way. I mean, I've seen the budgets and the discussion in the South Dundas side, and I see the pain that they go through every year when they're trying to catch up when they were so far behind. So, you know, the investment that we continue to make in that system, even though it's an oversized system for the amount of people that are using it, we do a really good job maintaining it and keeping it where it needs to be. What we really need is to make sure we get these subdivisions built, and more people hooked up to it to share in the costs for it. So, and with that grandstand, I will say, I'll call the question on third reading. All in favor? Good. Spencerville Sewer System Budget Rates, Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Joe Martell that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to adopt the estimates and impose sewer rates for users of the Spencerville sewer system, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Thank you. First and second reading on the Spencerville System Budget and Rates. Discussion, if any? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? You can proceed to third.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded again by Councillor Joe Martell that a bylaw to adopt the estimates and impose sewer rates for users of the Spencerville sewer system be now read a third and final time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2024-73.
Good, thank you. All right. Discussion on third reading. Anyone? No? Okay, then I'm calling the question. All in favor? Okay, good. So where are we now? We are on the New Wexford Industrial Park System budgets and rates. Councillor Smale.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Joe Martell that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to amend bylaw 22-18 to impose water rates for users of the water distribution system in New Wexford, County Road 2 and the Johnstown Industrial Park, and this shall constitute the first and second reading thereof.
All right, first and second reading on the New Wexford and the Industrial Park System budgets and rates. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Proceed to third.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Joe Martell that a bylaw to amend bylaw 22-8 to impose water rates for users of the water distribution system in New Wexford, County Road 2, and the Johnstown Industrial Park be now read a third and final time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2024-47.
Right, certainly. Third reading discussion, if any? None. I'll call the question then. All in favor? Good, and so the rates are put in. Say, like I say to our group, this water comes from, or this service comes from the town of Prescott, who also does, I can't think of the name of their water company that manages for them.
Aqua.
Aqua, that's it. I knew it was something to do with water. They do a fantastic job as well, maintaining and running their system, being part of their, I always say this and it sounds so wrong, their water board, the Prescott Water Board. It does know when you sit in through those meetings, it makes you feel very confident about the work that's being done, and how they manage and how they run their system. Albeit it's a little different than the way that we do ours. It seems to be a very collaborative effort. I know Augusta is starting to come into the usage a little bit as well. And I think Prescott's a fantastic neighbor in offering the service to us for the fee that we pay for it. So looking forward to a long and continued partnership with them. It's such a vital service for our industrial park and for our New Wexford users. Thank you to Prescott. Item D, our memorandum of understanding with the Township of Augusta for winter maintenance agreement. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and second by Council, Mr. Martell, that the mover be granted a leave to introduce a bylaw to authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute an agreement for road maintenance with the Township of Augusta. This shall constitute the first, second reading thereof.
All right. First and second reading on the winter maintenance agreement with Augusta. Comments, questions? Nothing on first and second, then I will call the question. All in favor? You can proceed to third.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Council Martell that the bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement for road maintenance with the Township of Augusta be now read a third and final time. Finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2024-76.
All right. Discussion before I call the question on third. No one? No? All right. I do. So just to be clear, so I know I read this a couple of times and I asked for clarification. So you just speak to it like we're going to be plowing. I'll let you speak to it. I just think it makes more sense.
Through the chair, the agreement is meant to cover the boundary roads that we share with Augusta. So there's three main roads: Glen Smale Road, Cedar Grove Road, and Weir Road. So the purpose of this agreement is Augusta will take care of the plowing for Weir Road, and we will do the plowing for Glen Smale and Cedar Grove Road. And another piece of this deal that it talks about is if there's any reconstruction along these border roads, that we consult with the other township prior to commencing. Because what we don't want to have happen is, we go and we build our road, so you use Cedar Grove Road for an example, and we build it right to the border, and then it's not great road in another county, so or another township, pardon me. So all that we had put in here was that we'll talk to another before we do reconstruction on those roads and share the cost when those roads come up. So
Much like what we did with North Grenville
for Coder Ranch
Coder
Road,
Ranch.
correct.
Yeah. Anyone want to comment on this at all then before we? Yep. Councilor Smith.
Through the chair, thank you to the CIO. Was there any mention about them maybe helping us pay for the Weir Bridge?
through the chair, no, but thankfully we had saved up a couple of years of OSIF, so OSIF and CCBF paid for the Weir Road Bridge, thankfully.
There's a big $900,000 sign on either side of it to say so as well.
That is correct.
Yeah. Steve, did you want to speak?
Yeah, I think this is just a small project, but a good step of what collaboration is about of our municipalities working together on this, because we went through that at Cedar Grove. They did a beautiful job, and then from then on in, our township is not good.
Ours was awful.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that.
We're
Mr. Mayor,
catching
but
up.
We're catching up.
We're catching
But
up.
anyways, I think it's great collaboration. Well done by the two CEOs on that one. Thanks.
Go ahead, Waddy.
Through the chair to the CEO, have we had any talks with South Dundas about sharing roads and stuff? Because I remember years ago we used to do that.
Through the chair, not that I'm aware of, but I'll reach out to the director of operations to see if we've had any talks with him about the borders on that side of the township.
Okay, thank you.
And anyone lastly? No. Then I'm going to call the question, I think, on it, and then I'll comment. All in favor? Good. And I will echo the deputy mayor. I know we have sat at this table for 6 years now, I think, and we have wanted to see agreements like this for 6 years, and we're finally seeing, I think, 2 of them in the same night, one on healthcare and one on roads, and it's been a long, hard push. Everybody says the A word, and nobody likes the A word, but we can be collaborative, we can work together, and we can help our neighbors out and do things that make sense and not become one place. And I just think that this is such a positive move forward. It's such a, pragmatic approach to moving forward in the right way. So thank you for listening, and thank you for having the fortitude to move forward with Augusta. So send our thanks to them, and we look forward to being good partners for a while. Yeah, it's great. All right. Councillor Martel, I think you have the CAO's administrative update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Waddy Smail, that Municipal Council receives the CAO's administrative report as presented.
CAO, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It seems like I only did this a couple weeks ago, which I did do this a couple weeks ago. So this will be a fairly short report. Just with bylaw, over the past weekend, first snowfall took place. Thank you to our Public Works Department for clearing the roads Sunday morning and making sure that everybody could get around safely on Sunday morning. And the BLEO conducted winter parking control and issued a total of 27 warning notes for winter parking infractions. And then throughout the past month, the BLEO has actively distributed public education materials for the winter season and respecting the winter parking restriction. For Treasury, originally I had no update, but I do have an update. Thankful to our treasurer and her staff that went out and delivered all of the Spencerville Spencerville wastewater billings by hand today, and did that door to door, as we have no Canada Post to deliver those for us. And I took care of New Wexford and wore the worst possible shoes to go and do that, but I did manage to come back unscathed. So moving to facilities and recreation, the seniors tech class wrapped up last week. New session will start mid-January. And for holiday skate, both arenas have times over the holidays for free skating. For operations and public works, our Christmas tree pickup and drop off will be done between January 6th and January 17th in Cardinal, Spencerville, Johnstown, and New Wexford. All decorations, tinsel, and plastic must be removed. Christmas trees can also be dropped off free of charge on Saturday mornings at the Scott Road Transfer Station during the month of January. All decorations, tinsel, and plastic must be removed. For training and meetings, training on PSD citywide route patrol completed, and then the GPS AVL training in progress for staff. So the point of that was that we will know how much product was dumped where on our roads and at what time, more from an insurance liability should we ever fall into that situation, and also ensures we're covering our roads with that route patrol. In environmental services, just routine rounds completed, so as normal. For municipal drains, for the Newport drain, we're just working with Robinson Consultants to finalize the costs and prepare for an updated assessment schedule. I think other than that, it's 2025 items. And then for fire department, one of the things in here on training was department members received training on proper note-taking for the fire service and preparing for legal proceedings. Just for that is more when they get called out to an accident scene, that they're taking the proper notes that can be then used if needed in an investigation. Fire prevention, inspection completed at a multi-residential unit in Cardinal, and industrial fire safety plan being updated. And other than that, our annual compliance report was submitted through the Emergency Management Ontario portal on December 2nd. And that is my CAO's report.
Thank you. Thank you, CAO. I did notice in my email earlier that late today there is something from Emergency Management Partners, but I haven't had a chance to read it yet. It was at 2 minutes to 5, so I'm assuming it's thank you and all is great, but I haven't had a chance to forward it to staff yet or read it myself. So you'll get it soon.
Thank you.
Questions from anyone on CAO's administrative update as it was presented? Yes.
Just want to thank staff again. I mean, my kid was going out to work and on Sunday morning, and our road, both lanes were cleared both ways. This is at 7 o'clock in the morning he left, so good job on that. And even the sidewalks around the township are great. So really want to appreciate what people go through to get that done so early in the morning, essentially, which is great. So there's that, and then I had something else I thought, and I've lost it now, of course. Sorry about that. It just again, just the usual thanks to staff for these free public skatings that are going on through the holidays. Good job on doing that kind of stuff, and I think I'm glad we keep up doing that, because I think it really does bring people together. You know, when you go out and see how many people go to them, and anyways, I'm just glad we're still doing it. So that's all.
Good. Thank you, Steve.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, to the CEO, that training meeting with the PSD citywide route for the GPS that helps us how much sand and salt we put on the roads. Will that help our insurance anyways with our CGL to the insurance company?
Through the chair, I'm going to say yes and no. It does, because we're doing everything we can to mitigate risk, and that always plays into your insurance premium.
Due diligence. Okay, thank you.
Good question.
That's it. Job well done.
Guys?
Thank you, Mayor. Through the mayor to the CEO, relating to what Steve just said, a couple questions I have for you. Is there so much salt and sand that you're allowed to put down, or the more we put down, are the men penalized for it? Like, what I'm trying to say is, years ago, you run it by hand, and you knew if you had to put more down for ice rain than you do for regular snow. Does this keep track of every ounce or every pound they put down?
Through the chair, I'll double check with the roads manager, but I believe yes, it does track the amount that is put on the roads and where.
Now, will that be implemented? Like, say you're allowed to put 10,000 down, and the guy puts 12,000 down. Is the driver going to be reprimanded for doing that, or?
Through the chair, I'm not sure that's the intent of the program.
Okay.
The intent is more to ensure that we've put the proper coverage on the proper areas at the proper time.
Okay. One more question I have. I was driving today, I think it was today or Sunday maybe, and another plow truck, not from our township, and I won't say where it's from, was at the stop sign and forgot to shut his off, and he had a pile like 3 feet deep under it. The spinner would just barely.
I saw that.
So,
I saw that.
I mean, accidents can happen. I don't know whether ours are automatically shut off when they come to a stop now or not, but.
I can check with the roads manager to see
Okay.
what the equipments are on the vehicle.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good questions. Further, anyone? All right. All right, I'll call the question then on receiving the COO's administrative report as presented. All in favor? Good. We are on to councillor inquiries and notices of motion. Does anyone have an inquiry or notice of motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Inquiry. I'd like to the CEO, if you could, have the operation manager maybe look at our contract that we have with South Nation, how many years left, or if we do have anything left on our septic tanks inspections going forward. If we could get back to us in the new year, appreciate it. Thank you so much.
It's a good one. I don't remember either. Nope. Anyways, further inquiries or notice of motion? Okay, seeing and hearing none, then we're on to member reports. Deputy Mayor, you want to bring it forward? Member reports, can you bring it forward?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
It's all right.
I'm asleep.
It's usually me. It's usually me.
By moved by myself and second by Mr. Martel, that Municipal Council receives the member's report as presented.
All right, does any member have a report they wish to present? And I'm going to start at Waddy's end. Waddy, anything?
Yes, Your Mayor, to the CEO, just want to thank all whoever drives the sidewalk plow. He's cleaning the roads and everything down at the Legion for people that walk in the morning. So really appreciate that.
Through the chair to Councillor Ward, thank you. I will pass it on.
Okay, anything? No? No, you don't need to.
Just want to bring up Skating with Santa. I think it's Friday night in Spencerville and Sunday afternoon in Cardinal.
Maybe backwards. Friday night Cardinal.
Sorry, is that what I said? Friday in Cardinal and Sunday in Spencerville. Thank you very much. I hope to see us all out there for that
Get your ugly sweater on.
get together. It's always nice to go with the kids and with Santa, of course. So that's all I have to report.
Excuse me, sorry, just in time to cough. No, I just, it was good to see. Santa's really been really good in the community this year, for sure. He did a great job helping serve breakfast at the Drummond Building for the Ag Society. Anyway, it's just really good to see so many kids come out. There was, I don't know how many kids there were, but it seemed like there was at least 150 people in the building as well. So it was good to see that. And again, as the mayor echoed earlier, all the stuff that's happening as far as volunteers around here seems to be higher than it's ever been before. And it's just good to keep seeing it happen. So I think that's it.
Yep, good. Yeah, I certainly saw that. I had other things going on Saturday morning, but the breakfast looked like it was good. Okay, so I have a couple of real quick ones. So, not directly our mandate, but I think it applies to us because they're township. The health unit approved a merger last Thursday night. So we will now be the Southeast HU, Southeast Health Unit, and it'll be KFLA. Prince, it's PEC, right? Prince Edward Counties, right? Yeah, and Hastings, I think, is in there, and then Leeds, Grenville, Lanark in there. It'll service about 550,000 people. The positive things about it is, from our health unit standpoint, I know we just did pay equity here in the township with our non-union. They haven't done pay equity with the other health units, and they're considerably under what the other two health units are. This will force that to happen. So the employees will certainly get that equity done in a much more expedited fashion than it may have happened for them otherwise. The province has promised additional funding. They came up with a check of 1.9 million to erase the deficits for the last couple of years, as well as move forward into this coming year. And they are saying that they're going to approve those budgets as they go as well. Unsure exactly what that will mean in terms of the bill that this township will receive for those services, but I have been assured that one, rural quality of care will not change, even though Kingston will have the mass of the population. That rural matters will still apply, and I've been assured that not only service continuity, but there'll actually be an increased level of service because of the ability as such a bigger group to deal with issues that come forward. So if they're doing enforcement in one area, they'll still be able to continue to offer services where if it was just the one group, there's just more people now, more boots on the ground. And if it was just the one group, if they were doing enforcement in one area, all the other areas suffered. They couldn't continue with the services they provided. So supposedly this will ultimately lead to greater service. We'll see what happens over the next year. With Leslie here, and certainly thank you and your staff at the Port of Johnstown for having Minister Flack last week. It was nice to have so many members of staff come and be involved in that process. Having the Minister of Agriculture, anytime you get 5 minutes of time with a minister, it's great. We got a little over an hour FaceTime talking to him about all things agriculture. We had Steve brought Holkstra, can't remember what his first name was, for the Grain Farmers of Ontario had dairy represented. There were a lot of different stakeholders represented there that all got some time with the Minister of Ag, which is fantastic for us. Certainly having his input and forming that relationship as we move forward to him, especially knowing the pressures from a budgetary standpoint, the help that they can provide certainly is good. So thank you to you and the staff at the port for being such gracious hosts and doing that. So looking forward to having, maybe Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Transportation there if we can get them there too. So to staff, I think this is our last meeting of the year. So it's been a pretty fantastic year, Sean, to you, thank you. You work your butt off. That's the easiest way to say it. We've developed a good friendship outside of here, but from this council's standpoint, we work hard. We fight like cats and dogs back here, and you manage to be the great kindergarten teacher that you are, and sort of keep us in check and under control. And I'm very thankful for that. To Jess, just your first year, getting your feet wet. Thank you for making the jump and choosing to come and work here. Hopefully we prove your decision right over the coming years. I know it's a great opportunity for you, but it was a great opportunity for us to help build the team that's sitting there. It's a very different team than it was when this group came in. There's so many. I saw in the report about how many new staff and how much turnover, and that turnover is going to continue. We have an aging staff. We do have somebody on mat leave or going on mat leave. Like, we are going to see a lot of new individuals, and you manage. I know your job is sort of babysitting us as well, but you also have a job to do when it comes to, running the corporation, but managing all of the different departments. And it's a difficult job. And I know that I speak on behalf of this entire group that you do a fantastic job. We're super, super happy with that. Leslie, you're another addition that this group's brought forward. While we haven't seen what your abilities are yet, we hear on a daily basis, the difference from an HR perspective, that there's a difference with employees and worth and things like that. And I know that initially that may not transpire into induced revenue lines, but I know it'll increase productivity and workman pride. And if there's one thing that this group, does take pride in, is it's this township, and it's the workers and the people that work hard for it. So, I know that the next year is going to be a huge year there. It's going to be a different kind of year there, but I know we're looking forward to it. So thank you to Rebecca and Candace, keeping us legislatively straight, answering a million questions when you maybe don't want to give me the answers that you do. Thank you for keeping us on the straight and narrow. I appreciate it. And Wendy, I'm happy to see you in a role again that I know you're going to thrive in. I see a smile on your face when I walk in instead of a concerned look. And it means a lot to me. So to see that you look like you're enjoying yourself. Mary, it's been short. I appreciate the great work, that you do, and you're a good addition around here. So thank you to that. Mike, if you can extend that on to the entire, or not Mike, sorry, Sean, if you can extend that on to Mike and the entire rec department for the work that they do. I know I spoke to it earlier about the things that they do for all of the events, and we push super, super hard on the rec department to increase and do things. We're asking for docks to be in longer. We're asking for them to be in sooner. We want the pickleball courts to stay open longer. And, we're just asking them to do things and take a little more pride in the township. And I know they're responding, and there's still some work to be done, but we appreciate the work they do. And it goes without speaking, the work that the folks that, Chris and the group at Public Works, the job they do, keeping our roads safe and doing the great work that they do. And I know Eric and Aaron and the team at Environmental Services, they had home runs all the time. I love when Eric brings a report forward. It's the clearest and most concise reports that we read, and I never question anything that comes out of Eric. So just maybe how he puts up with the smell down there all day. But Um, for all the staff, though, I think, you know, we couldn't do it what we want to do, and you guys get what we want to achieve, right? We are not a slow moving bunch. We're, especially this guy, you know, nobody moves faster than him. And, you know, we appreciate the work that you do. And I know it's such a change from what it was when we got here 2 years ago to what it is now. And I can't wait to see what it's like over the next 2 years. I think we finally turned the ship, and now I think it's, you know, time to make that ship run. So thank you to that. And to the guys at the table. Oh, fire department. Well, yeah, sorry. I guess I skipped the fire department. To Brian, Vicky, and the entire team, all the captains and the fantastic volunteers that, you know, that put their lives on the line. I guess I always, they're unassuming. We certainly appreciate all the work that they do. The amount of training, the extra training that they put in this year is substantial. I don't think in any year that I've been here, I've seen as much training as that they put in as this year to help increase and to make themselves better. So willing to put themselves at risk all the time for our residents. So a great job to Brian and the team there. So thank you. Thank you to them. I'm not done yet. I have one more to go. It's you guys. No, it's you guys. And no, I'm not going to clap for you. I'm not going to clap for you. No, to you guys, thank you. I know it's a tough job. You know, I know what you said about water rates before, but you know, that's what we signed up for, right? It's not, I guess it is kind of a popularity contest, but the reality is that I hope that people see that we're doing what's best for our township. And I think we all know that even when we have difficult discussions and we disagree a lot, we're having fun doing it. We're respectful of each other, and we can have a lot of fun together inside here and outside of here. And I was saying this to Waddy on the way back, on the ride back today, I've never had as much fun as I have the last 2 years with this group at the table and with the team we have supporting us. You know, we're going to get a ton of stuff done in the next 2 years, and I'm really proud of the work that you guys put in and how much care and detail you put into it. So thank you to everyone. Good year, fantastic year. Well done. All right, so enough of that, and so I'll call the question on members' report. All in favor? Good. And we are going to question period. We do have one person in the gallery. Nothing. Okay. And nobody and no questions at all. Good. So then we're going into closed session. Councillor Ward, you have go into closed session.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Joe Martel that municipal council proceeds into closed session at 8:18 p.m. in order to address matters pertaining to A, Section 239-2C, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, specifically approved minutes of closed session dated November 25th, 2024. And B, Section 239-2C, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by municipality or local board, specifically possible land acquisition. And C, 239-2B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically administration.
Okay, we'll call the question on going into closed session.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good, we're in closed, and we'll take a 5-minute or 7-minute break while we get ready. Thank you.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Joe Martel that the closed session meeting of municipal council does now adjourn and the opening meeting does now resume at 9:37 p.m.
All right, I'll call the question to come back into open session. All in favor? Okay, we're back in open session, and Councillor Smale, I believe you have some minutes to bring forward.
I do. Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, Walter Smale, and seconded by Joe Martel.
Oh.
That municipal council receives and approves the minutes of the closed session dated November 25th, 2024.
Right. Thank you very much, Walter. I will call the question on approval of minutes. All in favor? I wish you guys would take your job more seriously. All right. All right, so reporting out of closed session, council met in closed session to under section 239(2)(c), proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. I called the question, right? Is that what you guys, sorry. Specifically possible land acquisition, and we did give direction to CAO. We also met under section 239(2)(b), personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including a municipal or local board employee, specifically administration, and we gave direction on that item to the CAO as well. That is it for reporting out of closed session. And Deputy Mayor Dillabaugh, you have the confirmation bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Mr. Martell that the bylaw to adopt and confirm and ratify matters dealt with by the resolution be now passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2024-77.
Okay. Bringing into full effect the things that we passed tonight. I will call the question on that. All in favor? Of course, and we are on to adjournment. Whoever has adjournment can bring it forward.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Joseph Martell that municipal council does now adjourn at 9:40 p.m.
Thank you, and I will call the question. All in favor? We're adjourned. Joseph.